Alright, this is not a video that I want to do. Normally I prefer showing an idea, or at least a person presenting an idea, and giving the reasons why I disagree with it, and any number of things. This is more personal. This is infinitely more personal than any of that. Because a call for an uprising has decided that he's going to directly target my channel. Now, this is a video that I'm making partially so I can document a bunch of the stuff that's happened, and two, to present on a lot of it. Three, and probably most importantly, this is something that I want to send to YouTube when it's done. I'm just going to let all of you know right now, those of you who do redeems, those of you who send in channel points and stuff for me to say stuff during this segment, I'm not going to be doing that because I do not want this interrupted, basically. So, firstly, this part's for YouTube. I have a question. When somebody shows this, a comment like this, what does it register to you guys? Like, how does this register to youtube.com? Because to me, when I see something like that, it doesn't register as good. Now, for those who are in audio-only mode, this is called leaving a comment on my channel saying, have you ever for once considered doing the right thing in your life? That means dumping gasoline on yourself and lighting a match. Now, again, I know that there are plenty of people who don't actually read this as a problem. They'll just go, hey, it's just a joke, or hey, it's just him saying something that's his opinion, man, and there's no problem with showing his opinion. But his opinion is apparently that I should die. Like, that's what his opinion is. The right thing for me to do as a human being, according to Call for an Uprising, is to commit suicide. That's the thing that would improve his day. That's the thing that would make life easier for him. Now, that's not a thing that I'm going to be doing, obviously, but I just wanted to showcase that's what he wants me to do. Now, this is, of course, something that YouTube has not responded to or about, calling for me to commit suicide. But let's go on here. Let's continue on. This was an email sent to me earlier in the month from a person who apparently is called Nathaniel Howard. I doubt that that's their real name, so I don't have any problem showcasing this here. And if this is your real name, then you're a dumbass for sending this to me. That's your fault. Sorry. But it reads, I'm a Call for an Uprising's brother. You are spreading false information about Christianity. You're a communist and a liberal. Apparently those two are the same thing to him. You're trying to destroy America, you bastard. You're being paid by Jews to spread false lies about Christianity. And you're a BLM supporter too? You're a racist. N-words lives don't matter. All lives matters. You're so brave, huh? Fight me, libtard. Pull up. Now, again, I don't know if this is Call. I don't know who this is, but this was sent pretty much directly after Call dropped his comment on my channel, so I would venture the assumption that this is Call for an Uprising. Do I have hard evidence of that? No. But I've never received an email from anyone in Call's group, as far as I know, up until this particular email there. Now, ignoring the obvious part where apparently I am both a liberal and a communist who radically oppose political ideologies, ignoring the part where I'm called a racist but they're dropping the hard RN word, ignoring all of that, we need to move on because there's just that much to go into. So, here's the video I did on gatekeeping being a VTuber. And Call comments on this video, personally, I don't support hatred or bigotry. Thankfully, I have created a new forum where we are all taking down timestamps, so you can be reported for your behavior. Each video we are all finding judgmental, as well as perverse commentary, which is being mass flagged. Once we hit 3 flags, then you can go back to pumping gas. I'll take premium. Fill it up, please. Let's see how fast you can rebuild a channel once it's destroyed. My guess is no one will miss you. I'm sure you get that a lot from your close family, though. So here we have another lovely comment from the individual saying that they'd be perfectly fine attacking my livelihood. Now, this is likely in response to me reporting some of Call's channels because in Call's videos, he harassed minorities. So, Call, being the unoriginal person that he is thinking that he's going to be able to do the exact same thing where I'm concerned. And let me go ahead and show the first bit of evidence there. So I did a video on a user whose own name on their channel is Uncle Hotep. And when I did that video, Call commented. Now, granted, I can't see the whole comment because it got removed. I don't know how. Not my doing. I haven't actually deleted any of Call's comments. But it says that this video proves you're a racist, going to start something. I don't know what he was planning on starting at this point. Until right about here. Recall says, cancel culture. I suggest all of my subs check out this channel and do what you think is best when looking for the report button. This person is a horrible bigot who in this video suggests that people of black skin color are stupid for refusing to be vaccinated. There's no room on YouTube or in this world. There's no room for this on YouTube or in this world. Please notify everyone you can and YouTube to stop and remove this hateful one-sided content which promotes systemic hatred towards people in the black community who've chosen not to be vaccinated. Now, this only makes sense in a world where my argument had anything to do with the creator being black, but if you watch the actual video that I did, there's no point in the video where I actually argue that. I argued that anti-vax positions are largely nonsense, and I even said, I believe, in that video, either that one or the one with Officer Tatum, that I understand there being trepidation given that there are issues, especially given the Tuskegee experiments. I understand the trepidation, but we're past the point where all the data is available. We know what's in the vaccines. We know how they work. We know what they're doing. So at this point, yes, I think it's kind of silly to just stalwartly not get vaccinated. Has nothing to do with a person's skin color. Now, after this, though, I have to ask you, what is a boomer but a miserable pile of getting very cranky because the world around you is changing? Now, I know that there's going to be somebody in the chat who's going to yell at me for being ageist there. It literally is just an okay boomer joke. You will be okay. But for those of you who know what VTubing is, in any way, shape, form, or capacity, I want you to tell me what you think of when you see a comment like this. Just got in touch with VTube, as well as close to 20,000 people to have you removed from the platform for hate speech and systemic hatred towards the black community. We'll be doing this daily until it's handled. Bigotry will not be tolerated on either platform, YouTube nor VTube. Now, I'm sorry. Call, I hate to tell you this, and maybe I'm throwing my cards on the table too hard when I say this, but VTube's not a platform. VTube is an aesthetic. It is a stylistic choice. But I understand you not getting that. Poorly researching things is literally a hallmark of your channel. Continuing on, another comment dropped on my channel from him. I guess you deleted my previous comment. So let me just reiterate. I've spoken to a massive amount of my friends in the black community, and we are not just mass flagging, but contacting YouTube to remove this channel for your hatred for the black community. This is disgusting, and I'm ashamed that they allow you to post this type of messaging. No worries, our team is on it, and this channel will be taken down in no time. Now, I understand that the point of what you're trying to do, Call, is you're trying to exhaust me. That's the goal. Because scenario A, you get the channel taken down, and then it gets up again via appeals, and then I have to constantly get the channel brought back up by appealing false flags. And eventually, it will mean that even if I keep the channel up in perpetuity, it will have gone through so much that I'll either be mentally exhausted, or there will be so many instances of me not being allowed to upload videos for so long that I'll be financially exhausted. One of the two. And either one, I'm sure, is fine with you. Though, I'm fairly certain that me mentally exhausting myself is at the very least one of the prime things that you are concerned with doing, given that you literally want me to commit suicide, and have said so publicly. But now that we've at least gone over the fact that you are trying to do this, and this is your strategy, let's go ahead and continue just a little bit more. So, not only did Call do his call-out post about me apparently being a racist for disagreeing with somebody who just happens to be black, not because they are black. He then puts up this video. Urgent! Help me stop systemic racism towards black people! With a picture of me doing my response for the Uncle Hotep video. And he does this on a very specific channel. Now, the channel that he does this on is this variant of Call for an Uprising with 397,000 subscribers. Now, I guess he forgot the login to this version of a Call for an Uprising that has 523,000 subscribers, if his goal was to get onto the largest version of his platform to attack my channel. Just going to go ahead and say, as a matter of strategy, you probably should have used the larger platform, but a 400,000 sub channel will probably do what you're trying to go for just as well, all things considered. Now note, on this channel, he hasn't uploaded in 9 months, because this, like many other channels of his, actually got knocked down. Now, let's go ahead and take a very brief look at some of this video, so we can see what type of things are being said. We're not going to look at a whole lot of it. Honestly, there's way too much to get into. We can't focus too much on this bit, but let's go ahead and play it.
For an Uprising, welcome to today's show segment. I wanted to do this video because I've always talked about cancel culture, what a cancer it is, what a disease it is. And I've tried to lead by example by not reporting channels, even channels that disagree with me and things like that. However, there's certain channels that flag and they mass harass. What they do is they go on private forums and they...
Now, private forums. I have no idea at what point a private forum would have been brought up, Call, but it's not me. I don't go onto private forums and tell people to mass flag or mass harass you, but you publicly have stated that that's what you're doing. That is the strategy you're employing. But, you know, let's just go ahead and not engage in tu quoque too terribly much longer. There is more of your video to get into.
They talk to each other and they mass flag videos at certain timestamps, and it doesn't have anything to do with hate speech. It has to do with a difference of opinion. Now, I've always been against this because I thought that by trying to lead an example of, you know, letting people have a difference of opinion, that maybe they'd say, okay, I don't like you, I could do a video talking about you. But when people call for mass flagging on channels like mine, what it does is it hurts the audience, because...
The audience is not hurt when your channel gets taken down, Call. I'm sorry. The reason that any flagging even happens on your channel at all is because you violated YouTube's terms of service. One of those terms of service involved harassing minority groups, and one of these people, who is a minority, would be Hannah Reloaded. She is trans, and you have done several videos dead-naming Hannah, showing videos of Hannah pre-transition, vehemently yelling and screaming that Hannah's a man, Hannah's a man, Hannah's a man, and at that point, yeah, you're violating terms of service, but there are other ways in which you've done it, and you also know you're doing it because we're going to show a portion in a bit where you and I have actually had a conversation, mano-y-mano, not in a YouTube comment section, not in any way, shape, or form, except literal live conversation with our vocal cords. But let's continue just a little bit more before we move on to that.
I lose out on channels. Now, I've had 3 channels deleted in the last 2 months. I've documented that, 2 of which had no content on it, were deleted for no reason. But the reason they were actually deleted is because a specific person with no teeth flagged the channel. He had about, I guess, a couple hundred people who ride the Hershey Highway flagged the channel.
For those who didn't catch that one, that's actually an anti-gay remark. The Hershey Highway is supposed to be the upwards ends of one's asshole. So we got homophobia, but let's continue.
Specific timestamps, and what the algorithm does is it reads these timestamps, and when it reads the timestamps, it thinks that something is wrong. So it'll automatically flag the video, which will get the video removed, and then you have to rely on one person, one individual at YouTube to look at it and review it. And if they decide they don't like it, you get a strike, a permanent one. And if they decide, oh, it was flagged by mistake, they'll give you another chance. 99% of the time, you ain't getting another chance.
So the reason that you don't get another chance, Call, is because you yourself have been violating TOS. When I appeal my strikes, all except for one instance, they've ultimately gone in my favor. I wonder why that is.
So I saw this video by this guy. This guy is a white male who loves to give his opinion on everything but doesn't like anyone else's. And he was targeting the black community. He did a video about...
See, this is the thing Call does. He doesn't show people as they prefer to be shown on his channel. He grabs older videos or older pictures of people so that he can use those ones, because he knows that his audience, who are largely transphobic, homophobic, etc., he knows that that audience will go after that creator infinitely more. If you want an example of this in action, here, I can actually show you, because we're not going to look at more of Call's video. We made
this is...
I don't care about a call for an uprising. Literally nobody cares. Let me see if I can find a very specific piece, because this actually just got DM'd to me. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This is what ends up happening, or this is at least one example of what happens with Call's audience when they hop on your metaphorical dick. People will hop in and say, Suris is one of the most ridiculous and hypocritical channels I've ever seen. It's easy to tell how ill he is by how he can't even decide on an avatar by going from lumberjack to a disgraceful-looking anime creature. He's definitely going down, as if merely by VTubing, I don't know I'm a guy. Just so you guys know, I am a guy. I have no predilections as to whether or not I am. This is not something that is news to me. Hold on a second. So, let's go ahead and showcase the actual conversation between me and Call so we can see what kinds of things are said by an individual of such a caliber. Alright? If everybody is ready for that little bit of info. Where did I put... There we go. So, for those of you who have been watching my channel long enough, you know what I look like, okay? There's not going to be any surprises here. For those of you who are maybe newer, maybe this will be a surprise for you. Maybe it'll be a shock for you. I mean, Call literally just showed it in his segment just a few seconds ago, so it's not going to be anything new. But this is from a year and a half ago, and this is when Call and I actually had a conversation with each other, mano-a-mano. But I want you to listen to this first part here, because this first part to me is very telling as to what kind of a person Call is when it comes to terms of hypocrisy.
Funnier than that. Deal with the consequences. You open your mouth, you deal with the consequences of you opening your mouth. That's what life is. That's how it works. Don't run your mouth. You can't back it up. Huh? You don't believe in that?
I do believe in that, and I can back things up. So what I'm trying to get at is there a point to any of this? Is there an actual conversation topic we're going to get to, or is it going to be Gish Gallops are us? Okay, so I point that out because in that actual conversation, we were supposed to have a particular talking point. We ended up getting to that talking point. That's not the issue. I just want to point out that as somebody who apparently thinks that you should be held accountable for your actions, cool. Then maybe the flagrant transphobia and violation of YouTube terms of service is an action that you should be held accountable for. You said yourself that you've had 3 channels deleted, and you've made other channels as a way of protecting yourself financially with those channels being deleted. And yet somehow YouTube hasn't actually decided to do anything about the other channels. I myself can't quite figure out why, but let's go ahead and continue. This is a few segments taken from the conversation with me and Call.
I can't wrap my brain around the fact that people are accepting of the trans stuff. I mean, I can't. I mean, you can go back into the 90s and watch movies, stand-up comedy, late-night talk shows. I mean, trannies were always the butt of every joke. Now you crack a joke about a tranny, you're hate speech. Just comedians who get thrown off stage, weren't even allowed to speak anymore.
Okay, so 1, we all know that comedians aren't really getting thrown off stage. 2, when you say a joke that is no longer in good taste, or society has moved to a point where they realize that certain things are hateful towards groups of people who are actually people, then they ought not say those things anymore. Now, granted, Call doesn't think that trans people are actually people. That will be demonstrated in a future clip. These aren't put in order of importance. These are put in the order that I was able to pull them out of from that conversation. Just going to say also, revisiting this conversation was not the most pleasant experience for me, but let's continue. The fact that society moved in a direction that allowed for people who were once marginalized to actually be able to have a fair shot in the society they live in without constantly being beat down is not a bad thing. Accepting that trans people exist is not a bad thing, because they're not going to do anything.
Do I want to take a dump in the bathroom next to my daughter?
Well, if a woman isn't in the bathroom with your daughter, that doesn't really matter. Also, all right, so again, trans women are women. If a woman's in the bathroom with your daughter, that doesn't matter. Again, your kid being in a bathroom with an adult is going to happen in public restrooms. There's nothing saying that a guy or a girl are going to be more likely to be predators. But Call also believes that people who are trans are more likely to be predators, and that will be demonstrated in a future clip as well. Do you think there's something about trans people, this one, that causes them to suddenly just want to rape children? Is that?
Oh, 100%.
100%. That's what it is. Okay. Call literally believes that when you realize you're trans, the likelihood of you becoming a sexual predator goes up exponentially. Now, you and I, who have working brain cells, don't think that that's the case, because we understand that the things that cause somebody to be a predator and the things that cause somebody to realize that their gender is not the one that they've been attempting to conform to for X amount of time are not the same thing. But to Call, trans people are just predators. That's how he is. Now, he doesn't think that every single individual trans person is necessarily a predator, but he does think that the majority of them are, or that it's at the very least a predilection for them.
Clear that I'm not. I'm saying that there's a preference towards it. Haven't you seen what's gone on with the reading in the library to young kids, and how many of these people they found out are actually sexual predators who are dressing up as trans, close to kids and all that stuff? You don't think that's a problem?
You don't understand the difference between drag and somebody who's actually transgender? You know there's a big difference between the two.
I know it's all a mental problem. I mean, I'll put it that way.
You know it's all a mental okay.
Clear that I'm...
So, according to trans, being in drag is a mental disorder. According to Call, being trans is a mental disorder. Dude actually doesn't understand what a mental disorder is, but this type of rhetoric, this type of behavior, this adds to the stigmatization of minority groups. When you think that somebody merely existing as themselves, as opposed to as you think they should exist, means that they are suffering from a mental disorder of some kind. Identify with the gender they weren't born with. How is that embarrassing?
How would you know that you're the opposite gender? Explain that to me through sociology, like you said earlier you were going to do, because I just want to laugh.
And here's where we get to one of the cruxes of the conversation. To Call, it doesn't necessarily matter if I give him actual data, if I give him actual information that is relevant to the conversation. He wants something to laugh at. This is not a person whose job it is or whose goal it is to find the truth of a particular matter. This is somebody who engages in confirmation bias, and when they hear the opposite of what they think is true, it's not a moment for them to recollect or reconsider. It's a moment for them to laugh, to engage in comedy. That's what it is for them. Continuing on.
There's no real word for the flu except chicken soup, because nobody really dies from the flu.
Nobody really dies from the... You realize that I actually have a family member who died from the flu, right?
I don't, but I mean...
Now you do. Now you do. So
I'm supposed to care? I mean...
It's not that I'm asking you to care. It's that you made the statement...
How do you know that person didn't have pneumonia?
You made the statement, nobody dies from the flu. I have a family member who caught the flu at the exact same time I did. I went in to get taken care of. They did not. They died from the flu. Like, this is an experience I personally have had. You can say nobody's died from the flu. Okay. And from this point of the conversation, Call starts grilling me on how old the person was. At the time they died, they were 23. At the time that I caught the flu, I was 23 or 24. We were basically the same age. But notice that to Call, the important thing is not what actually has happened in the conversation. the initial statement, nobody's died from the flu, and then when I give an example of somebody who has died from the flu, instead of talking about the nitty-gritty of that conversation, his first comment is, do you think I should care? No, Call, I don't think you should care. You don't have a reason to. Moreover, let me be more frank. I don't think you have the capacity. I don't actually think you have the ability to care about another human being. I think that the only thing you have is spite and vitriol, and that's it.
Well, then, before you attack it, I don't do videos on trans. I mean, I do videos on trans being mentally.
On trans being what?
Mentally incapable of being human beings, because they're not. They're the dumbest, sickest people that need to be locked up in cages. But that's another story for another day.
All right, so how many of my friends are trans? Probably a good bit of them, honestly, at this point. And it might be because of how I've positioned my channel. I'm in a position now where I happen to meet more people who are trans. So, I mean, it just happens that I'll become friends with more people who are trans. That's pretty normal doing so. But remember when I said that Call was the one who throws the first punches in a lot of this stuff? Also, that's a really awkward freeze frame of me. That's going to end up in somebody's video thumbnail. But remember how I said that one of the ways in which Call threw the first punches here was arguing that my loved ones should be locked up in insane asylums? Well, here we are. This is a clip that I've had in the back of my head for a very long time, but I unlisted the video off of YouTube because I figured there would be no benefit to having that archive of that conversation, because I didn't feel like I personally performed terribly well in the conversation. But just in case the people who are listening over at YouTube don't remember what was said 10 seconds ago, then here, we'll play it one more time for you as we play the entirety of the clip, just so you know what kind of a person we are dealing with here, and the type of person that you allow to have multiple channels on your platform and tell people they need to commit suicide.
Being human beings, because they're not. They're the dumbest, sickest people that need to be locked up in cages. But that's another story for another day.
Remember, apparently trans people aren't human beings to Call him. This is why he's able to do and say the things that he does, because to him, trans people aren't people. If they were people, maybe he'd have to reconsider the things that he does and says. But he doesn't think that. So here we are.
Like, at least I can say that on your channel. I'm not going to strike on mine. So.
And there it is. Call, for somebody who argues that you don't want to strike other people's channels, but you are more than willing to go on their channels and put their channels at risk of being struck down because of the rhetoric that you apparently danced around at one point, now you just say it outright, more so on your other channels. That's why you've lost 3 of them. Doesn't surprise me. Now, granted, my channel didn't get a strike for this, but since I am planning on sending this video to YouTube, it will probably get a strike. And you know what? Sure. I could understand if it does. So, you think that what about trans people being trans means that they're dumb and need to be locked up in cages? I'm curious.
Oh, no. If you have a penis, you're a man, right? And then if you try to remove it and get surgery to get testosterone and boobies and a wig and lipstick, that's all fine and dandy. It don't make you a woman.
What makes... Well, okay, so the actual criteria that makes somebody a woman or a man is whether or not you personally associate with that label. Gender labels are sociological constructs at the end of the way. How much you identify with them is... that is pretty much the criterion. I'm sorry. Disgusting science. Okay, so for context, and I didn't clip this one properly, right beforehand when I mentioned that, science basically says, sociological science, talks about the social construction of gender. When I talk about that in this conversation, Call says, oh, that's the disgusting science. Just so there's a little bit of context here. Disgusting science, okay. So it has nothing to do with if you can produce sperm or not.
Is that what the thing is?
That's not what the thing is at all. I'm just trying to figure out why you're right. So here, Call is arguing that the only reason that I advocate for trans rights is because of fetishism, basically. I apparently like trans people, and therefore I must defend them, and like them sexually. That's what he's trying to get at here. Also, note that there's still liberal use of the T slur in this particular conversation. Just, throwing it up there. But continue on.
God, be into things that women are into.
Why would that matter in any case?
How would you know?
You know,
How would you know?
you know that we determine what women are into versus what guys are into as a completely sociological thing? Like, that's not determined by anything biological. There's nothing biological about liking trucks.
What makes a man decide he's a woman? Tell me.
Okay. And as for what makes a person decide that they are any gender besides the one that they were assigned at birth, it's going to be a largely personal answer. That's going to be different for every single person. Every single person who is trans has a different story, a different journey. And it's what causes certain creators on the platform, say Blair White, to try to argue that other trans people are more or less valid than them because they happen to have different journeys. I cannot answer, especially not as a cis person, I cannot answer the question, what makes somebody decide that they are a different gender? Because I don't know. Again, I'm cis. Not my journey. I'm not going to be able to answer that for you. But I believe...
all people who are into the trans thing, you guys are the dumbest people.
Into the trans thing, it's more that I agree with the medical science on the issue and not
medical
dumb shit on
science.
YouTube.
Medical science as far as what?
As far as one, the bimodal distribution of sex and gametes. That's one. For two, the actual sociological data we've had going back for several hundred years, but more specifically in 1984.
The data shows that the white padded rooms exclusively be used for people who are born with certain sex organs who think they're the opposite. That's what the white padded rooms should be used for.
And here we have, again, the same rhetoric about people who I care about, trans people, friends of mine who are trans, even people I don't like who happen to be trans, all should be in white padded rooms. That's what they should be for, according to him. He's argued that they should be in rooms. He's argued they should be in cages. He's argued that they should be treated not as people. And this is all okay to call. This is all okay, at least for YouTube, because this is the rhetoric allowed on their platform, apparently. I believe that that's the last clip that I have here. Yeah, that is the last one that I have in this section here. But I know that I've mentioned this conversation several times in passing on other videos that I've done. So hopefully showing the actual context of the conversation will help people understand why I have the position on Call that I do. Because it's not that I just, from a distance, watched his content and came to a conclusion about his character. I attempted to have a full-on conversation with him and came to the conclusion that, no, this is how you are. This is who you are. Note, this was also a year and a half ago, and he's been doing this stuff ever since then. Now, Call for an Uprising has not one channel with 523,000 subscribers, not two channels with another 397,000, not three channels with another 109,000 subscribers, not four channels with another 6,000 subscribers, but apparently 6 channels, 5 or 6 channels, because we have the Call for Fudge Kitties channel here as well. Now, there may be channels that I don't know of in this whole smorgasbord, in the Call for an Uprising extended universe. But we know there's at least 3 that are dead that I am not able to look at because those apparently got taken down. Now, I've asked this before, and I'll ask it again. YouTube, what happens when you've deleted the channel of a user on the platform? What are the terms of service when you've deleted their channels? Are they allowed to make new ones? What is the what is supposed to actually happen here? Moreover, I'm just even more curious. What are the terms of service when somebody tells you that you deserve to commit suicide? What is the actual way that we should handle that? By what criterion should were I an employee at YouTube, by what criterion would I evaluate comments like this? Now, there's infinitely more to look at where this is all concerned, because remember, he did a harassment campaign on my video that I did on Uncle Hotep. So if I go over to that video right now, right before we hop off, let's go ahead. Well, this is going to be a bit of an interest. Shut up, me. I don't even like you. Call especially doesn't like me. But the ratio on that video is currently sitting at 377 likes, 953 dislikes, because Call managed to send his brigade here. a couple of things here, though. I'm actually not upset that the video is getting ratioed. I expected it. As soon as a creator as large as Call decides to send their brigade over to me, this is bound to happen. In situations like this, I'm actually kind of thankful, because, well, this is a whole lot more engagement than the video would have gotten originally, so thank you for that. But let's go ahead and close things out with an actual conversation, a heart-to-heart conversation. I've got a conversation for Call, a conversation for YouTube, and then a conversation for my audience. The conversation for Call is very brief. Get a life. The entire world is not some satanic industry trying to assault you or whatever the true version of Christianity is that you believe needs to be defended. And getting rid of my channel is not going to stop that kind of that kind of stuff from happening. If anything, I'm the smallest blip on your radar. The difference between why I went after you and the reason why you went after me, I went after you because you were attacking other people. You went after me because I went after you. Because you were attacking other people. Hopefully you can see the difference there. My conversation for YouTube is largely the same. Just listen to this video and you guys make the determination of what you're gonna do. But to wrap everything up here, I'm gonna close off with the conversation with my audience. Call's strategy here is one to either emotionally or financially exhaust me. If he thinks this is a thing that he's going to succeed in, he is honestly not entirely incorrect. I've already gone through therapy. I've already figured out how to compartmentalize most of the suffering that I have to deal with in order to do what I do on this platform. I know how to handle that. But Call's strategy can take the YouTube bot system and have it mass strike multiple videos. And if 3 videos get struck in quick succession, then the channel gets taken down. Now, even if I win the appeal process and get that channel brought back, Call's already managed to win a little bit in that way. Because the amount of time that the channel's offline is time that it's not making revenue. And YouTube is my primary source of income. So, Call hitting me in this way, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, probably one of the most effective ways you can manage it. I could sit here and advertise my Patreon. I could sit here and advertise my merch store. I could sit here and say, go follow over on Twitch, as multiple alternate methods of making sure that I'm still able to do what I want to do on this platform. But I don't think doing any of that would be in good taste right now, considering the subject matter of the video, and the fact that I've already taken up almost 40 minutes of your time. And the fact that any of you have stuck around this long for this awkward of a subject is beyond me. So I just want to say thank you to those of you who are here, those of you who've been here, and just know that no matter what Call does, I'm going to keep doing what I do. If you want to destroy my channel so I have to go get a second job or some shit, cool, that's what I'll do. But I did this channel and everything that I do while holding a second job before. It's not like I can't go do that again. With that said, though, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I'll also be linking all of Call's channels in the comments of this video. That's both for me, for you, and for YouTube. I know that's 3, but hey, who doesn't like Hercules jokes? With all that said, though, everybody, insert into video tagline here. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. If you want access to behind-the-scenes content for the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. I do weekly vlogs over there, where I give real-life updates to what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, stuff that you don't really get over here, and even on Twitch. Patreon also helps the channel's stability a whole lot. Without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Especially with the kind of content that I do, neither YouTube nor Twitch are the most stable sources of income. If you are a $20 and up patron, then you will be featured on the ending slides as shown in the beginning of the end credits. If you want to catch the streams where all this content comes from, then consider heading over to Twitch and following. And if you want to continue watching over here on YouTube, maybe consider clicking one of the end screen videos. And once again, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me over on my channel. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything that I'm doing over here on YouTube without each and every one of you. So thank you.